since you were a child, a highly sophisticated, systemic lie has been injected directly into your consciousness. It is a lie so pervasive, so deeply embedded in the cultural fabric of society, that you defend it as if it were your own original thought. They told you that hard work is the undisputed key to success. They told you that if you simply put your head down, grind through the exhaustion, and trade the irreplaceable hours of your finite life for a paycheck, you will eventually reach the summit of financial freedom. They preached the gospel of sweat, discipline, and endless labor, promising that the universe will somehow reward your suffering with wealth. They lied to you. It was not a misunderstanding. It was a calculated deception. In the brutal, clinical reality of elite wealth, hard work is not a virtue. It is a trap. It is the ultimate psychological contract designed by the architects of society to ensure the masses remain perpetually exhausted, utterly manageable, and financially stagnant. Look around you with surgical detachment. The people breaking their backs, the ones working double shifts, the ones sacrificing their health and their families for the grind. Are they the ones flying in private jets? Are they the ones dictating the flow of global capital? No, they are the engine. And the engine is designed to burn out so the driver can reach their destination. The 1% understand a fundamental law of power that has been deliberately hidden from you. Sweat is the currency of slaves. When you rely on hard work, you are selling the only asset you cannot create more of, your time. It is a finite, depreciating resource. The elite do not sell their time. They purchase yours. They build mechanisms, acquire leverage, and manipulate capital so that your hard work generates exponential returns for their portfolios, while you are left with a fixed, taxed, and inflationary wage. They have convinced you that there is nobility in exhaustion, because your exhaustion is the foundation of their empire. You have been conditioned to take pride in your own exploitation. You boast about how many hours you worked this week, wearing your burnout like a badge of honor, completely blind to the fact that you are merely bragging about how effectively you are being utilized by someone else's system. The architects of power look down upon the grind with cold amusement. To them, manual labor and time-for-money transactions are the absolute lowest tiers of the economic hierarchy. If hard work truly created wealth, every construction worker and factory laborer would be a billionaire. But wealth is not created by physical exertion. It is created by leverage, asymmetry, and the ruthless exploitation of other people's labor. Most people will live and die within this invisible cage. They will spend decades running on a treadmill that powers someone else's mansion, forever hoping that one day their loyalty and hard work will be magically recognized by a system that was explicitly designed to extract their value and discard them when they are empty. But you are here because the anesthesia is wearing off. You have felt the crushing futility of the grind, and you suspect that the rules you were taught are fundamentally flawed. In the next 30 minutes, I'm going to completely dismantle the illusion of the working class. I will perform a ruthless dissection of the hard work myth and show you exactly how the elite monopolize leverage to escape the time-for-money trap. I will teach you the mechanics of the Machiavellian sovereign, how to stop being the brick and start being the architect. If you are deeply attached to the romantic idea of an honest day's work for an honest day's pay, turn this off immediately. This is not a motivational speech. This is a manual for systemic escape. Welcome to the cold, unapologetic reality of the 1%. Script. To understand the architecture of your enslavement, we must strip away the emotional rhetoric of modern society and examine the machinery of power through the clinical lens of Niccolo Machiavelli. Machiavelli did not concern himself with how the world ought to be, a moral utopia where sweat translates perfectly into gold. He analyzed the world exactly as it is. And in this unforgiving reality, there are only two classifications of human beings: the leverage providers and the leverage extractors, the builders and the architects, the consumed and the consumers. You have been indoctrinated into a cult of kinetic energy. You believe that continuous motion equals inevitable progress. The elite, however, operate entirely on the physics of leverage. They understand a cold, biological reality. A human being only has 24 hours in a day and a finite, rapidly decaying amount of physical and mental stamina. If your strategy for wealth accumulation relies on maximizing your personal output within these biological limits, you have mathematically guaranteed your own ceiling. You are playing a linear game in an exponential universe. You cannot outwork the math of the 1%. The dark core of this reality is that hard work is a moral construct, not an economic one. It was engineered by those at the top of the hierarchy to ensure that those at the bottom remain continuously productive without ever demanding equity. When a corporation or a systemic institution tells you to take pride in your strong work ethic, they are not praising your character. They are celebrating their own profit margins. They are applauding your willingness to generate surplus value that you will never see. You are trading your irreplaceable life force for a microscopic fraction of the capital it produces, while the sovereign sits in silence, capturing the massive delta between what you generate and what you are paid. Machiavelli understood that the prince does not dig the trenches or build the walls of the city. The prince controls the treasury, the military, and the laws that dictate who must dig the trenches. To transition from the subject to the sovereign, you must undergo a profound, almost violent psychological mutation. You must entirely eradicate the guilt associated with not working hard. The masses are paralyzed by this manufactured guilt. If they are not sweating, if they are not stressed, if they are not visibly overwhelmed, they feel they do not deserve success. They believe suffering is the toll booth on the road to wealth. The elite feel exactly the opposite. If an architect of power finds themselves sweating over a manual task or trading their hours for a direct wage, they view it as a catastrophic systemic failure. It means they have failed to acquire the proper leverage. It means they have degraded themselves from the role of the owner to the role of the operator. This is the stark dividing line between us and them. The masses are addicted to the perceived nobility of effort. The elite are obsessed with the asymmetry of results. You must realize that every hour you spend working in your system is an hour you are not working on your system. You are being paid just enough to maintain the machinery of someone else's empire, which precisely ensures you will never have the time, capital, or cognitive bandwidth to build your own. Your exhaustion is not a byproduct of the system. It is the system's primary security measure. A perpetually tired population does not revolt, and a burnt-out employee does not build competing empires. To join the ranks of the powerful, you must commit what society considers the ultimate sin. You must become strategically detached from labor. You must refuse to be the engine. You must look at every task, every obligation, and every hour of your day through a singular, ruthless filter. Is this applying leverage, or am I being leveraged? Until you can detach your ego from your physical and mental exhaustion, until you stop wearing your burnout as a crown of thorns, you will remain a highly efficient, perfectly domesticated asset in the portfolio of men who know better. The dark truth is this: the world does not care how much you suffer. It does not reward you for the gallons of sweat you pour into the dirt. It rewards you for how much you control. The diagnosis is complete. You now understand the precise architecture of your cage. It is time to forge the keys to your exit. What follows are the first 3 laws of sovereign leverage, the cold, unapologetic mechanics used by the 1% to extract maximum wealth with minimum personal kinetic expenditure. These are not theories. They are the predatory laws of economic gravity. Law number 1. Sever the linear tether between your time and your capital. The middle class operates on a fatal, mathematically doomed formula. Time multiplied by effort equals income. The architect operates on a completely different equation. Asymmetric leverage multiplied by scalability equals wealth. You must aggressively and permanently refuse to be compensated for your time. Your time has a biological cap. There are only 24 hours in a day. If your financial survival requires your physical presence or your direct labor, you do not own a career. You own a highly sanitized prison cell. A predictable paycheck is the most paralyzing drug ever invented by the corporate elite. It is designed to keep you just comfortable enough to forget your own captivity. The 1% acquire assets, intellectual property, and capital structures that work entirely independent of their sleep cycles. Look at the modern landscape of high finance. The executive who closes a $50 million merger does not work 50 million times harder than the janitor sweeping his office floor. He simply positioned himself at the nexus of a highly leveraged transaction. He is compensated for the magnitude of the problem he solves and the capital he commands, not the beads of sweat on his forehead. You must immediately pivot from selling your labor to selling solutions, and eventually to owning the systems that provide those solutions. If you are paid by the hour, you are losing the game. Law number 2. Monetize the kinetic energy and the exhaustion of the masses. To build an empire, you cannot be the primary source of labor. You must become the aggregator of other people's labor. The myth of hard work is a highly profitable programming code that you must install into the minds of your subordinates, even as you permanently delete it from your own operating system. The elite build platforms, companies, and corporate hierarchies explicitly designed to harness the desperate, linear effort of those who still believe in the myth. Consider the founders of the global gig economy or major tech conglomerates. They do not drive the cars. They do not deliver the food. They do not write every single line of code. They constructed a digital coliseum where millions of individuals exhaust themselves competing for algorithmic scraps, while the founders capture a tax on every single transaction. They monetize the desperation and the hustle culture of the crowd. If you are a mid-level manager, your objective is not to do the work of your team to prove your worth. Your objective is to extract maximum efficiency from them while claiming the credit for the aggregate output. You must stop trying to be the hardest worker in the room. Your sole, ruthless objective must be to own the room and to charge rent to the hard workers inside it. Law number 3. Weaponize your cognitive bandwidth through strategic delegation. The working class has been brainwashed to equate delegation with laziness. The sovereign equates it with absolute survival. You possess a finite amount of decision-making energy every day. If you deplete that energy executing low-level tasks, answering mundane emails, or grinding through manual labor, you will be intellectually bankrupt when a high-leverage opportunity presents itself. The true architects of power often appear almost lethargic to the untrained eye. They do not rush. They do not panic. They are not suffocating in minor operational crises. Why? Because they have ruthlessly delegated their exhaustion to others. In the wild, the lion sleeps for 20 hours a day and hunts for a few brutal minutes, yet it rules the savannah. The antelope runs all day, every day, and its only reward is being eaten. A Wall Street hedge fund manager does not sit in a cubicle building complex financial models. He hires armies of desperate, indebted Ivy League graduates who want to prove their strong work ethic to do it for him. The manager preserves his cognitive bandwidth to make the singular, cold-blooded decision to execute the trade. The masses drown in the how of a task. The elite focus exclusively on the who and the when. You must relentlessly audit your daily actions and outsource automate, or eliminate anything that does not directly multiply your power. Your mind must remain clear, cold, and calculating, entirely undisturbed by the friction of manual execution. These first 3 laws dictate the foundation of your new reality. You are no longer the engine. You are the operator holding the ignition key. Pause. Look at your hands. Look at the calluses, the fatigue behind your eyes, the constant low-level anxiety that thrums in your chest every Sunday night. That is the physical manifestation of your servitude. I have just handed you the diagnostic report of your financial illness. The first 3 laws were merely the anesthetic, designed to numb the shock of your reality. What comes next is the surgical extraction. The next 4 laws are significantly more dangerous. They deal with the absolute monopolization of leverage and the deliberate, calculated extraction of value from those who still believe in the myth of hard work. If you are squeamish, if you still feel a misplaced sense of loyalty to the system that is currently bleeding you dry, turn back now. Return to the comfort of your exhaustion. But for those who have felt the shift in their blood, for the few who recognize that the summit is reserved for the architects, not the bricks, prepare yourselves. Before we cross the point of no return, understand that this knowledge is the ultimate divider. It separates the predator from the prey. If you seek to master the mechanics of elite wealth, if you are ready to stop being the engine and start owning the machine, subscribe now. Signal to the algorithm and to yourself that you are no longer a participant in the middle-class illusion. We return in 60 seconds. Decide whether you are the lion or the antelope before the silence ends. The intermission is over. You have survived the initial diagnosis, but understanding your captivity is not the same as orchestrating your escape. We now enter the advanced mechanics of sovereign leverage. These next 4 laws are the explicit operational directives of the 1%. They are the psychological and structural weapons used to extract infinite value from a world obsessed with finite labor. Law number 4. Monopolize the asymmetry of risk and reward. The defining characteristic of the working class is their addiction to symmetry. They want a guaranteed dollar for a guaranteed hour of sweat. They demand safety, and in exchange for that safety, they surrender their sovereignty. The architect understands that safety is the most expensive commodity on earth. The elite structure their lives around asymmetric bets, situations where the downside is strictly capped, but the upside is mathematically infinite. When you work for a salary, you are accepting a symmetric trap. Your maximum reward is capped by your time, but your risk is total, because a single layoff can destroy your entire livelihood. The 1% do not accept capped upside. They decouple their income from their physical output. They acquire equity. They build digital infrastructure. They invest in scalable systems where a single decision made in a 1-hour meeting can generate hundreds of millions of dollars over a decade. To achieve absolute power, you must systematically eliminate every symmetric transaction in your life. You must force the market to pay you for the magnitude of your impact, not the duration of your presence. If your compensation is predictable, your poverty is guaranteed. Law number 5. Weaponize corporate culture to extract free labor. This is the most pervasive and insidious manipulation tactic in modern capitalism. The elite understand that you cannot force a human being to work themselves to death through sheer tyranny. They will eventually rebel. But if you convince them that they are part of a family, if you sell them a fabricated mission, they will gladly sacrifice their weekends, their health, and their sanity voluntarily. The concepts of company culture, hustle, and passion are psychological algorithms engineered by the 1% to lower the cost of labor. They give you a ping-pong table in the break room, free pizza on Fridays, and a meaningless Employee of the Month title. And in exchange, you give them thousands of hours of unpaid overtime. The sovereign architect recognizes this manipulation and flips it. When you build your empire, you must cultivate a cult of passion among your subordinates. You must feed their ego with hollow titles and grand visions, letting their desire for validation drive your profit margins. But you must never, under any circumstances, fall for the illusion yourself. You must remain coldly detached, viewing passion merely as a highly effective management tool, a mechanism to ensure the engine runs hot while the driver stays cool. Law number 6. Control the bottleneck and own the toll booth. The fatal flaw of the hard worker is the belief that their skill makes them indispensable. It does not. If you are highly skilled but easily replaceable, you are nothing more than a premium cog in the machine. True power does not belong to the person who builds the road. It belongs to the person who owns the toll booth. The elite do not strive to be the best at a manual task. They strive to control the access point to the transaction. You must position yourself as the ultimate gatekeeper. Whether it is access to capital, access to a proprietary network, or control over a critical distribution channel, you must become the bottleneck through which all value must flow. When you control the choke point, you do not need to work hard. The hard workers will come to you. They will build the products, they will execute the services, and they will gladly hand over a percentage of their life force just for the privilege of passing through your gate. Your objective is not to be the most productive person in the market. Your objective is to ensure that no one else can be productive without paying you a tax. Law number 7. The psychopathic liquidation of low-leverage tasks. The final law requires a profound, almost sociopathic level of emotional detachment regarding your own time. The masses suffer from an urge to stay busy. They equate frantic activity with importance. The sovereign treats their time with psychopathic protection. You must conduct a ruthless, daily audit of your activities. Any action, any meeting, any obligation that does not possess the potential to generate exponential leverage must be immediately liquidated. It must be automated by software, or it must be dumped onto a subordinate who is eager to prove their strong work ethic. The working class will call you lazy. They will accuse you of being detached, arrogant, and unwilling to get your hands dirty. Let them. The opinions of the herd are irrelevant to the shepherd. You must become entirely comfortable watching others sweat while you sit in strategic silence. Your silence, your unbroken cognitive focus, is the forge where empires are designed. Every time you bend down to pick up a tool that someone else could wield, you are abdicating your throne. These 7 laws are the definitive architecture of the Machiavellian sovereign. They are the mechanisms that separate the masters of the universe from the slaves of the clock. You now possess the blueprint. The illusion of hard work has been shattered. The only question remaining is whether you have the cold-blooded discipline to execute the strategy, or if you will crawl back into the comforting exhaustion of the cage. Theory without ruthless application is just intellectual entertainment for the weak. You now possess the psychological framework of the elite. Here is how you weaponize it in the hyper-competitive, algorithmic reality of 2026. This is the execution blueprint, a strict 3-phase transition designed to elevate you from a depreciating asset to the sovereign architect of your own economy. Do not attempt to adapt these steps to fit your comfort zone. Comfort is the gravity that keeps you at the bottom. Phase 1. The absolute leverage audit. Tomorrow morning, you will cease operating on autopilot. You will audit every hour of your day with the cold, unforgiving precision of a forensic accountant. Identify every single task, interaction, and duty that requires your direct physical or mental exertion. If a task can be performed by an automated script, an artificial intelligence model, or an eager subordinate looking to prove their hustle, you must immediately sever yourself from it. In the 2026 landscape, performing a task that costs less to outsource than your target hourly acquisition rate is a profound form of financial self-sabotage. You must systematically buy back your time. Your objective in this phase is not to clear your schedule so you can rest. Your objective is to clear your schedule so you can plot. Phase 2. Erecting the toll booth. Once you have reclaimed your cognitive bandwidth, you must find a bottleneck. Analyze your industry, your corporate hierarchy, or your digital ecosystem. Where is the friction? Where must capital, information, or human labor inevitably converge in order to proceed? You must aggressively position yourself exactly at that intersection. Stop trying to build a marginally better product and start controlling the distribution channel that all products must use. In the modern economy, true power does not belong to the creators. It belongs to the platforms, the aggregators, and the gatekeepers. Build an exclusive network, acquire a crucial piece of digital real estate, or hoard highly specialized relationships. You must make it mathematically impossible for others to generate revenue without passing through your system and leaving a mandatory percentage of their wealth in your treasury. Phase 3. The asymmetric pivot. The final phase is the complete psychopathic liquidation of your symmetric investments. You must permanently stop trading your finite life force for linear returns. Begin shifting your capital, your reclaimed time, and your intellectual energy exclusively into asymmetric vehicles. Acquire equity. Build code. Own media. Establish automated operational systems. These are the assets of the sovereign. Mechanisms that require a fixed initial input, but possess an uncapped, theoretically infinite upside. Let the masses fight over incremental salary increases, performance bonuses, and overtime pay. Your only metric for success is the volume of wealth your systems generate while your eyes are closed. The economic engine of 2026 will mercilessly crush those who rely on hard work. The artificial intelligence models and the desperate, indebted masses will outwork you every single time. You cannot win a game of endurance against a machine or a starving man. The only sanctuary is leverage. Execute these 3 phases with absolute detachment. Build the toll booth, own the bottleneck, and let the rest of the world sweat to make you rich. The hour is over. The anesthesia has completely worn off, and the brutal reality of your economic existence is now laid bare before you. You can no longer plead ignorance. You can no longer claim that the system is broken. You now understand that the system is functioning exactly as it was designed to. It was explicitly engineered to consume your time, your energy, and your youth, and to seamlessly convert them into leverage for the 1%. The only question that remains is what you will do with this diagnosis. Most of the people watching this will do absolutely nothing. You will close this video, set your alarm for 6 a.m., and willingly return to the comforting, symmetrical cage of your employment. You will complain about your boss, you will complain about inflation, and you will complain about the economy. But you will continue to trade the most valuable, irreplaceable asset in the universe, your finite time, for a predictable paycheck. You will choose the illusion of safety over the terrifying reality of sovereignty. You will proudly wear your exhaustion like a badge of honor, and you will die as an engine, having spent your entire existence powering someone else's journey to the summit. If that is your choice, I do not judge you. The world requires bricks just as much as it requires architects. But a microscopic fraction of you, the ones who feel a cold, absolute clarity settling into your mind right now, will refuse to go back. You will permanently stop glorifying your own exhaustion. You will begin the ruthless, psychopathic liquidation of your low-leverage tasks. You will build the toll booth. You will become the gatekeeper. You will realize that the only way to win the game is to stop playing by the rules written by the people who own the board. This channel is not a community. It is a sorting mechanism. We do not want the loyal, the tired, or the obedient. We want the autonomous. If you have chosen to stop sweating and start ruling, subscribe now. Signal to the algorithm that your domestication is over. Your time is ticking. Stop selling it. Farewell.